any sales rep that has non-competing other companies that partner up with other sales reps that sell to the same target audience you do, they recommend you to their database, you recommend them to your database, everybody wins. I mean, this is marketing 101, but it's like you've got to build those relationships. And that's where, again, it's longer term, but we've got to do a mix of all of that if we want to be successful in sales. We got to mix ourselves up short term, medium term, long term in the work we're doing. So very, very important.
This episode is brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. It's a program designed to help new and struggling sellers improve and take their skills to a whole new level. Get access to the first 2 modules absolutely free. Find more information at thesalesevangelist.com/free course. This episode is also brought to you in part by Sales Success Summit. This year's Sales Success Summit is held in Austin, Texas from October 14th through the 15th. Learn from the top 1%ers in sales what makes them succeed and how you can improve. Sign up today at top1summit.com. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have Mr. Brad Sugar coming on the show. We're going to talk about pulling profits out of a hat. Brad is the founder of Action Coach. It is the largest and most successful global business coaching franchise. And he's going to take all that wisdom, bottle it down, and help you and myself understand how we can get more profits. I think that's fair enough. Check it out. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Hey, buddy, it's great to be with you.
Man, I am so excited to have you on this episode today. I'm looking forward to talking about this. I was joking in the teaser that we're going to take some profits out of the hat, baby. And I know you're going to give us some good insights on that today, Brad.
I just want to ask, Don, why did it take you 1,100 and something episodes to get me on here? I'm just feeling like I'm left out in the corner. Is it the Australian thing or what's going on here?
No. What I've learned over the years is that you save the best. I had to figure out how to do it right first, get to this point where I felt comfortable bringing on an expert like yourself.
Great answer.
Oh, man, Brad. Well, I'm looking forward to this, man. Before we dive into all the fun stuff, I bragged about you in the beginning there. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
You know, I've been teaching business now for 26 years. I started Action Coach purely by accident. People were asking me, how are you succeeding? As a young man succeeding in business, people often ask you, how do you do that? And so I started teaching, and I fell in love with being on stage and really enjoyed the teaching process. And people would always come up to me at the end and say, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? And I was like, you know what? I'm running my own business. I do a little bit of speaking stuff on the side. Maybe if you call me every week, I can coach you through something. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 months in, the brainwave hits. You know, when people ask you 100 times, can you do this? Can you do this? You finally work out, maybe I should have a business doing just that. And here we are 26 years later. Now we're in just over 80 countries. We just opened coaching offices in Russia and more than 1,000 offices around the world helping business people succeed. And that's the fun part of it. And now 17 books later, who'd ever thought of that, especially not my English teacher. So, you know, I got told at school I talk too much, and that's fantastic. Now it's my profession. I get paid to speak, so this is great.
That's not a bad gig. I don't mind that at all.
You know, I love speaking from the pure perspective of I get to reach so many more people, but that's why I love your podcast. You got so many amazing subscribers, and after listening to many of your podcasts, I can see why. By the way, for any of you listening for the first time, subscribe to this. Don't just listen once. But understanding the amount that you can impact business owners when business professionals and salespeople, when you just give them a few hints that help them grow, that to me is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, dude. So much fun, man. And this is exciting, man. I'm looking forward to chatting with you as we go deeper into it. Let's hit on this point here. The book. Why did you write another book? Wasn't 16 good enough?
Three reasons why. Number one, I was sitting at lunch with a buddy of mine and he says to me, it just seems like magic the way these companies like IKEA and Amazon and South, it just seems like magic how they keep growing. And I just looked at him and said, you can't be for real, can you? He goes, well, they're good companies, but they just keep growing. And so, of course, in my head, that's like, well, maybe I should write a book on that. So I sat down with my co-author, Monty, and we actually created, and it took us 2 years to put this book together because everything we did, we then went and tested on our clients, and I'm basically an entrepreneur, buddy. I buy companies and I fix them all the time. So I feel like I'm a bit like Ray Kroc. And so I wanted to write a book about that was, how do you find a good company and then take it exponential? And many people already have a good company. They just want to exponential their existing business. And whether you're the highest level executive or a startup entrepreneur, what we've taught in this book is really clear about how to actually get, instead of percentage growth, multiple growth. And I think a lot of the salespeople listening, the challenge I put to people is stop just thinking percentage growth and start thinking multiply. To remove the percent and put in multiply. If you got 15% growth last year, challenge yourself 15 times growth, 30 times growth instead of 30%. And what people go is, well, I can't possibly do that. And I said, well, that's why I wrote the book, because you don't understand how to do that. There are many companies doing it. You've got to learn how.
Interesting. So do you feel a lot of it has to do with limiting belief then before anyone can strive or really hit that success?
I think that a starting point is the actual belief that you can multiply a business. I just bought a company down in Texas, property management company. And, when I first bought it, the guys that ran it, brilliant guys, amazing, great business, phenomenal concept, great systems. But they weren't thinking of 2,000 offices across the United States. They're thinking one office in Houston, Texas. I buy in, I sit down and say, okay, here's the business plan. Here's how we're going to have 2,200 offices across the US, Canada. This is the plan. And now we're working that plan, just raising more capital out of Silicon Valley, and hey, presto, and off we go. I think that if you don't even ask the question of how do I multiply my results instead of percentage increase, then yeah, it's all about attitude. It's all about mindset, because you can't even think of the answer if you don't ask it.
That is awesome, man. So true on that. I agree with you 110%. I love it. Love it. So let's break this down. I'm a small business owner. Let's just go through the scenario. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I want to pull profits out of a hat. I want to get profits pulled out of this hat. How do I make that happen? What's the first step a business owner should do?
Well, firstly, we got to remember that every business person is a business owner. Salesperson, sales leaders, you're all a business owner. You got to own your own section of the business.
Yeah.
We first of all look at is, we got to set the goal. So start with, what do I want to achieve? 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, 30 times. Yep. Then we got to sit back and look at the strategy. There's 5 core disciplines within the book that we go through, and strategy, business development, people, execution, mission, just to summarize them. But you got to start with strategy. See, if you look at, let's use an example that everyone can understand. Okay, strategy breaks down to 4 main points: leverage, scalability, opportunity, and marketability. Let's start with leverage. My definition of leverage: do the work once, get paid forever. Okay, how do you do the work once, get paid forever, or at least long term? So what's an example that everyone understands? Let's use Apple as an example. Okay, everyone understands the Apple business. Earlier, Apple business, make a computer once, sell it once. They're a computer manufacturer. They made it, they sold it. And of course, we all know what happened there. The business almost went bankrupt. Steve Jobs got fired from his own business. Other end of Silicon Valley, you got Bill Gates. He understands leverage. Make a piece of software once, sell it forever, and get paid forever. Now, Microsoft's such genius these days, they don't even sell you the software. They rent it to you, so you pay every single month. Steve Jobs leaves Apple, goes and runs this little company called Pixar. He buys the company, cuts a check for a couple mil, buys the company, turns it into something worth billions. Why? Because he understands leverage there. Make a movie once, sell it a million different ways and a million times forever and ever. Disney buys the company. You talk about a genius of leverage. Disney is the ultimate genius of leverage. See, I look at salespeople and ask them, are you having to resell every single time, or are you setting yourself up for success? Are you setting yourself up so that you've got a customer that buys from you over and over and over again? And how are you managing that they will do that time and time and time again with less and less effort? Not more and more effort, less and less effort. And that goes to scalability, I guess.
Interesting.
That'd be where I start. Because the strategy, if I get, sorry, buddy, to jump on you there.
No, this is good. You jump in. Shoot, we waited 1,000 episodes to hear this.
If I'm strategic, see, if I go into the music business, I can be a drummer in a band. That's one strategy. Or I can be Apple and own iTunes. That's another strategy. And there's a million strategy levels in the middle. I see so many people that go into it with the strategy of being the drummer in the band and wonder why they're working so hard.
Mm. Well, I think what happens in many situations, you could correct me because you've worked with a lot of companies, is that they have been taught based on society that you have a product, you sell a product. You know how to make, pillows. So let's go sell pillows. And it's like, well, maybe it's not necessarily selling the pillows. Is there a way that we can get benefit from doing something else, another strategy, instead of just a one-off item? You know what I mean?
Well, the challenge for salespeople is they're trained to do one-at-a-time sales. They're trained to do one at a time. Marketers are trained to do multiple sales at a time. Those marketers are like, let's not get 100 customers. Let's not get one customer. Let's get 1,000 customers. Let's not get 1,000. Let's open 10 new offices. Let's not open 10 new offices. Let's open in 10 new countries. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference in it. And the challenge for all salespeople is that one-at-a-time mentality ends up killing us. But then salespeople go, well, you know what? I'm going to do social media. And they go and I freaking hate it. They go and hide behind social media. It's like, well, I'm not making phone calls, but I'm going to hide behind social media. Shut up. Get the phone, pick it up, make a call. Well, I'm going to go and drive around my neighborhood. Shut up, pick up the phone, make a call. There's so many excuses for it. And I don't want to give people excuses for not doing that one-on-one time, because that's what built my business, is what built every business, banging out the numbers and doing the numbers. But, it's a balancing act, my friend. We got to also try and look at ways to get them to come to us. Short-term, medium-term, long-term sales strategies is something we always have to look at, because short-term, bang out the phone, do that stuff. Medium-term, start building relationships and start building that stuff and do those things. And long-term, build your reputation with social media and create content and all those things. They're definite long-term strategies, but don't be a new salesperson doing long-term strategies and forgetting the short-term ones.
Yeah, so true on that. Well, so we got the mindset, and we also get this idea of finding a killer strategy. What else should a business owner consider, or sales rep consider, as he or she is trying to take care of the territory and try to grow?
Yeah. So firstly, obviously strategy. Strategy, again, I go back to the 4 steps. Leverage, scalability. My definition there is the next sale costs less and is easier. Keep building. And sometimes you got to look at what is the product or service and how am I actually selling it? You go, well, let's use Apple again. Apple used to sell you a song one at a time, right? Now they've gone, because they realized you got all of these other systems that are out there, and they've said, hang on, instead of charging you for each song, let's just charge you once a month and you can have as much music as you want. That's why they had to buy Beats, because Beats had those agreements. And so you sit there and you start looking at scale. If you're not working scale into your sales program, again, you've got to go backwards and say, okay, how do I do this so that I can continually make money month after month? Opportunity size. Again, I look at many businesses, and especially small to mid-sized businesses, where they set goals that are based on their own personal needs rather than the market size. It's like, well, I need $100,000 a year to make money. Well, hang on. The market is $2 billion and you're getting 0.5% of 0.5% of 0.5%. That's just stupid. Why would you even run a business to get that? If you're going to actually set goals based on the opportunity size, the market size, not based on your needs, your wants, your desires, or your previous results. Just because you did 2 million last year doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing 100 million next year, because the market size is 2 billion. Come on, let's play to the market size, not to our own thing. This is, I think, Donald, where big business has an advantage over small business. They demand growth. They have shareholders and boards of directors that demand it. Small businesses, that's why I started a coaching company. Small business owners need a coach. They need someone kicking their backside every week. If you're the owner and the CEO of the company, you're doing a bad job at both of those jobs, because as the owner, you're not pushing the CEO. And as the CEO, you're lying to the owner, telling them you did a lot of hard work, and the owner believes you because it's you. And then so marketability is the next one. I always look for products and services that are easier to sell. I bought a commercial cleaning business down in Melbourne, Australia this last year. Why? Because everyone needs commercial cleaning. I don't need to convince you to clean your office or your gymnasium, I don't need to convince you that. I just got to convince you to do it from me. And that's where a lot of businesses, they go into business selling something where you got to A, convince people to buy it, and then B, convince them to buy it from you. You're doing a double sell. I like a single sell. I live here in Las Vegas these days, and Zappos is just down the road. And how easy is their business? They sell shoes. How many people want shoes? That'd be all of them. How many people want new shoes next month? That'd be all of them. How many people want shoes just because they look good? That'd be a whole half of the race, So we sit there and we look at it. Is it marketable? Is it easy to sell? And so that to me is the discipline of strategy broken down.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Brad and I are going to pick up where we left off. I want you guys to take at least one or two things, apply these, and to help you and your team increase your profits. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist Podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Way too often we find sales reps who become lethargic in their career. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, you've been there too. You just go into the slump and you feel like you can't get out. You're not closing deals, no new opportunities. And it's just blah. What I've seen to help me at that point is obviously listen to podcasts like this, read books, but also attend events where I can connect with other sellers. People who could challenge me, people who could bring new ideas and new thoughts. And that's why I recommend everyone to check out Sales Success Summit. The neat thing about this event is that you get a chance to connect with other top 1%ers, people who are doing amazing in sales. Learn from them what's making them succeed, what's causing them to get out of their rut, how did they elevate to the status they're at right now in their companies. If you are serious about earning six figures as a sales rep, I highly recommend you go to top1summit.com. Again, top1summit.com and register to attend the event. Last year, one of the attendees, a sales rep for a small company, went to the event. He networked with other top sellers. Since then, he landed a position at Teradata where he closed a huge deal. Now he's receiving a multi-six-figure commission check from it, all because he went where iron sharpens iron. If you want to learn from the best, go to top1summit.com and register today. This episode is also brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. As a young seller, I just didn't have it. I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any help, and I had to figure things out on my own. Luckily, I was able to take part in a group training course. Not long after the course, I started to see a hockey stick in my sales performance, and I knew this stuff worked. So I started to talk about it and share the advice and ideas. And I said, in the future, whenever I create something, it's going to be similar to that. And that's how we've designed TSE Certified Sales Training Program. To get the first two modules of the course for free, go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/free course. When you register and become a member, you will get the other 10 modules, as well as access to our community of other sales reps that you can connect with and join conversation with each week. Find more information again, go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Hey, let's dive back into this episode and start pulling some profits out of our hats. If anyone is listening to this and not doing the principles, I don't care. Like you said, go back. You could be a sales rep. You need to think of yourself as the entrepreneur. And if you could be like the owner of the company or someone who is going to start a company, you need to follow these ideas. And I really love the concept, the leveraging idea again, like doing one-to-many. I'll give you an example of a sales rep doing this or how our sales rep does this. I sold for city, county governments and municipalities at one point, right? And one of the things that I used to do is go after one. Well, I'll give you you go after one product. Well, back up. As a sales rep, we're taught, like you're saying, to go after one individual at a time. And then when you go after one individual at a time, so one school or one county or one doctor's office, that could work and it's good and all. But when you come with an effective strategy, like you're saying, I used to try to get partners in an industry, and the partners in the industry or people who were selling into the same industry, but maybe sold a different thing. Let's go back to Zappos. The person who sold, maybe Zappos sold the shoes and I sold the socks. I'm just giving an example. I could go to them and do an opportunity as opposed to going and try to find Joe who's going to buy one pair of shoe.
Yeah. The host beneficiary strategy, which is basically what you're describing, where one's the host, one's the beneficiary. Any sales rep that has non-competing other companies that partner up with other sales reps that sell to the same target audience they recommend you to their database. You recommend them to your database. Everybody wins. I mean, this is this is marketing 101, but it's like, you've got to build those relationships. And that's where, again, it's longer term, but we've got to do a mix of all of that if we want to be successful in sales. We got to mix ourselves up short term, medium term, long term in the work we're doing. So very, very important.
Love it. And then the other part that I just really, really found fascinating, what you're just sharing there, was going back to the market size as opposed to the number. I've made that mistake. I'm telling you straight up, where in the past where it's like, okay, I want to make this much. So I'm going to create a business that's going to make this much per year. But the reality is I need, like you said, I left so much more money on the table. And I think the same thing with our pipeline. Sometimes our managers may say your quota is X, but listen, the boss is going to pay you no matter what, right? Your quota, you get your percentage. So why wait, only say, well, I'm going to sandbag. My quota is only $50,000 this month. Why don't you try to get 100,000 and you can take some more money home? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember that when I was first in sales, one of my sales managers told me what my monthly sales had to be. And I did that in the first 10 days of the month. And all I did then was set myself up for next month. It was like they gave me such an underquoted quota. It was crazy. I look at a lot of sales managers, they don't manage down to the granular details. See, I love managing salespeople to personal bests. And whatever their personal best was, their next month, their quota is above their personal best. So if your personal best was like 10 referrals in a week, okay, your goal now is 11 referrals in a week. If your personal best was a close rate of X, then that. I love breaking down their sales process and saying, okay, because when you look at business development, the second discipline in the book, you've got to break it down. Sales, marketing, and customer service all have to go hand in hand. And it's pretty easy if you don't want a growth business. But if you're in a massive growth, in an exponential growth, then you're going to have great sales systems, great marketing systems, great customer service systems. When I break sales down with any salespeople, I always say to them, like if your sales process is 10 steps or 5 steps, and whatever the number of steps are, you should double that because you're doing too little. You're not breaking it down to granular steps enough. Like in my restaurant, we have 27 different product segments that we sell. So we measure our salespeople. They call them waiters in most restaurants. We call them salespeople. We measure because they're on 20% commission. They're on 20% tip. This is Vegas. Everyone gets tipped out 20% or more, right? So you're on 20% commission. You better sell. So water, how much water did you sell? Every guy and gal that works the floor gets measured on water sales every single night. Bread sales, they get measured on bread sales every single night. We break it down to the most granular goals and work backwards from there, because once you do that, then you get real results. It's about those tiny little activities that make it up. And I get some people who say to me, actually, one of your podcasts was, I'm too busy to do things. Well,
yeah.
I sit down and look at it. If you don't do 20 new connects a day as a salesperson in my organization, you're out. That's your thing. You must do 20 new connects a day. There's not how many can you do? It's no, you must do this stuff. There's not a limit on how many you must do, on how many you can do, but there's a limit on how little you must do.
Oh man, dude, you're hitting on some good stuff on this, man. Holy moly. Love
anyone
it.
Anyone would think I taught this stuff for 20 something years.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like you're brand new at it. And you know what? I was a server in a restaurant, the salesperson. There you go. And I can tell you, man, I was one of the top servers, and I made pretty decent money because couple things. When you're a server, I realized that I was first entertaining, and then once you're entertaining them, you're selling them because they're going to keep buying from you or love you and keep coming back to you. And it was pretty good money. But I wish we had a manager like you freaking to give almost like a daily number to hit. That's awesome.
We have one of our restaurants is a wine bar. And when people walk in, it's like, you talk about the comedy. One of our guys, we all learned this from him. He would go up to people and say, hi, his name is Brian. He said, hi, my name is Brian. I'll be the person getting you all drunk and full tonight. So who wants to start drinking tonight? And like, he would just say that to people, and it just got him off to a great start. But then we did simple little things, like we trained all of our salespeople, waiters, we trained them all on the technology of how to take photographs on any phone. We had a photographer come in and teach them all how to take great photographs. And as soon as people get served their drinks, say, before I take the order, would you all like to have a photograph taken together? Whose camera should I use?
Oh, man.
Our social media stuff just ranks, because the most important 2 things in marketing today is testimonials and rankings. Your ratings, testimonials, they're the 2 most important things. And I see sales guys not getting testimonials, and I want to beat them. It's like if you're not grabbing your phone out in front of every single great customer you've got and asking them for a testimonial, you're crazy in this day and age. Ask them to rate, ask them to rank. Do that sort of stuff and help them open their phone and say, hey, here's where you give me a ranking on LinkedIn. Here's where you do this. And just do it with them. Ask them, take them to lunch and ask them to do that sort of stuff. But our social media posts went up as well. Hey, presto, we've taken a photo. What's someone going to do with that photo? They're going to post it. They're going to tag the restaurant, all that sort of stuff.
Man, so smart. Guys, if you don't get the idea by now, you need to check out the book. You need
all 17 of them, Don, not just one.
Oh, he wants to give you all 17. Freaking go for it. Going to shoot for the fences, right? Swing for the fences.
I'm a sales guy through and through, always have been. And people say to me, well, I'm not really in sales. I say, you ever been out on a date? And they're like, well, yeah. I said, well, that's sales, and I know it's harder for some than others. They got not as good a product to sell, but dang, you got to sell. I remember a young friend of mine when I was a kid. This guy always got a date with the most gorgeous girl. And one day we all just asked him, how do you get dates with the gorgeous girl? And he just says, they're the only ones I ask out.
Yeah.
Dang, that's smart. When you're a teenager, that's smart as you get older, you realize, hey, that's the only way.
It's the true way, man. If there's one major advice you want to give to folks so they can start pulling profits out of a hat for themselves, what's that one major piece of advice?
I'll go two. I'm going to add value. Number one, keep learning. You'll never out-earn your learning. That's simple. You can only ever earn as much as you've learned to make. Number two is that make sure your sale is made before you turn up. Make sure it's made before you turn up. I'll give you a simple example of this. I worked with a real estate firm one time, and I said to them, oh, so you get the phone call. People ask, hey, can you come around, take a look and do an appraisal? I want to maybe list with you guys, da-da-da-da. He said, what do you send people before you turn up? What do you actually send? They said, well, we send an email. I said, no, that's not good enough. In this day and age of invisible, you got to turn it visible. So we created this beautiful box, had it printed with their logos and their sayings and all of that sort of stuff on it. In the box, there was a book written by the owner of the real estate firm. There were testimonials. Now, when we first did this, there was DVDs. Nowadays, it's all on chips or a business card, microchip type thing. There's testimonials from customers. There's magazines about them. And they would ship this. They still do it today. Within 2 hours of the phone call that the person had, it's on a crosstown bicycle courier. The bicycle turns up at their office and they need a signature or to their house, and it needs to be signed for. It's a box explaining to them why this company is 100 times better than any other company. Nice cover letter, nice note, and they get this. Now, here's the thing. Average real estate firm, how many things are they going to actually send before you get there? Nothing. They're sending an email. You show up with this. You show up that this has already been sent. It arrived there on the doorstep 2 hours after your phone call. What does that person think of you? You're the genius. You're a legend. You're a professional. You are the person they want to do business with. So you got to make sure you make the sale before you even show up.
Wow, dude. Love it, man. This is awesome. I wish most companies, no, I don't, because if they did that, we'll have way more competition. I want them to let them keep being mediocre.
It's mindset. I love the fact, and I explain it to my business coaches around the world all the time. I say, listen, if everyone knew what they were doing in business, we wouldn't have a business. The fact that everyone has to keep learning and keep growing is the reason why coaching works. People have got to keep learning. Business owners will always need accountability. They need it. So keep giving them accountability, keep them growing, keep them learning.
If there's one major takeaway you'd like folks to walk away with from listening to this episode, what's the one major piece of advice? I'm not sure if I asked that. I just got so hooked on what you were saying.
Listen, I keep coming back to one thing always that I just mentioned, and that is learning. I'm an avid learner. I was lucky enough at 16 years of age to meet Jim Rohn. I don't know if you ever had the chance to listen to him. Yeah. Mr. Rohn was the best business philosopher, bar none. And I was lucky enough at 31, I got to speak on stage with Mr. Rohn. And when I was 16, I got him to sign my notes. He said 3 things to me on that day at 16 years of age that changed the course of my success. It made me know how to be successful in life. Number one thing he said, never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. Never wish life were easier, wish that you were better. So if I get better, life gets easier. If I get better at sales, sales gets easier. If I get better at marketing, marketing gets easier. If I get better at prospecting, prospecting gets better. It's like someone said to me the other day, well, you know what, Brad, I'm not that good at prospecting. Great. How many books on prospecting did you read this year? None. Okay. Maybe if you read 1, you'd be better at prospecting. Hi. Second thing he said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. You are your number one project, okay? Build you and everything else works around you. And the third thing he said to me, which I followed to religiously, is read a book a week for the rest of your life. I read a book a week. I'm 48 now, every single week of my life. And now with Audible, hey, it's real easy to read a book a week. I mean, dang, I don't even have to read it. Someone reads it to me.
I know, right? And you can stop them and go back and rewind. And
podcasts, they're free. Hey, God, how many podcasts you subscribe to? Someone asked me one time, Brad, you don't do a podcast. You're right, I don't. I appear on everybody else's. They've got great databases.
Smart man. No comment on that. Again, speaking of somebody who is who's produced many podcasts and who have been on many podcasts as well, and who's a part of the podcast industry, you're doing it right. It's I'm having a lot of fun, and guys like you make my job so easy. Great interviews, make it easy. Thank you. Well, if folks want to get in touch with you, Brad, how do they go about connecting with you and learning about your book?
It's this amazing thing called the internet. You'll find me everywhere. You can jump on bradsugars.com, actioncoach.com, any social media. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Face, other than Pinterest. I'm not really a crafty guy. You're probably not going to find me on Pinterest. But you'll find me on all the rest, Insta and Twitter, all of them. So come join us, jump on Amazon, grab the books, and let's have some fun learning.
Hey, man, thank you again for taking the time to come on the show today. We appreciate it, Brad.
Love it. Thanks, Donald.
Great stuff, man. If you guys haven't done so already while listening to this episode, I want you to go back to the show notes, go to LinkedIn, connect with Brad, also find his organization, see how they could potentially help you and your team. All the details, again, right back in our show notes, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1189. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1189. Tell Brad that you first heard about him on the Sales Evangelist podcast. I know he'll be super excited and truly grateful. While you're there as well, make sure to check out TSE Certified Sales Training Program as well as Sales Success Summit. Find all the details again right there in the show notes. We do this because we want to help you. Our goal is to help you to find more of your ideal customers. We want you to have more meaningful conversation, to build stronger value with them. And this is ultimately going to help you to close more deals. But most importantly, we want to challenge you to go out each and every single day and do big things. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the episode today as much as I did. And if so, I ask that you leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you find fine podcasts. Also, if you haven't done so already, why don't you go ahead and hit subscribe? Show your friends, your colleagues how they can subscribe as well. I will greatly appreciate you doing that. Our show today was produced by myself and the Sales Podcast Network. It was edited and mixed together by the one and only Jershino Bale. Our graphic designer is Mr. Desin Cunado. Our show note was created by the one and only Miss Rael. Our guest coordinator is Mrs. May Marr. Our podcast production manager is Mrs. Shannon Rasmussen. You can find audio credits to this and all of our episodes in the show notes. And as always, I am your host, your coach, your mentor, your guide down the sales journey, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Sales Podcast Network.